Hello everybody! In this video, I want to show you just some plugins that people tend to either ignore or just underuse, even though they're totally available in most every DAW out there. We're going to be focusing here in Logic Pro, but this applies to basically every DAW that exists. So the first thing I'm going to just play for you is this laser sound I have here from the Future Weapons pack from Soundmorph. Just so you can hear it raw. It doesn't matter what sound it is, that's why I just picked a stock one from my library. But what I want to show you is just some functions that generally get kind of ignored. So the first one is inside of Logic's Delay Designer. Now, I'm sure you've used this plugin a ton, so what I'm going to do is just set it up for you just so you know what it sounds like without any of the extra stuff that's built into it. So I'm just holding Command here and then drawing a line. So what this is a bunch of taps. So these basically allow us to set up our delay so it gets quieter and quieter, or louder and louder, or however you want to set it up over time. So just play it on its own. So a standard delay, something we've all heard before and that we've all used before a million times. But there are other functions in here that are super awesome for sound design, mainly these ones up here. So there's cutoff, resonance, transposition, and pan. So what I can do with each of these taps, as they're called, is change the filter cutoff. So there's a filter built in here. So each of these delays now, these taps, will have a different filter cutoff to them. I can also make it so they have a different resonance to them. And I can also pitch shift each of those taps separately from one another. So they're either pitched up or down. And I can also make it so that they're panned to the left or to the right separately, so that each tap that comes back to us will be panned differently from the last one. So you can already tell that there's a ton of power in here. So I'm just going to play this back for you. So we already have a lot more character in there than we did before. Now what I'm going to do is turn this dry knob all the way down, this dry fader, so we're hearing only the processed delay signal. And I'm going to make these taps a lot more aggressive. And let's turn the resonance even higher. So now let's take a listen. So that already makes things sound a heck of a lot cooler and has a lot more character and color to it. So just keep this in mind with this Delay Designer plugin, that you can do a lot more than just make things sound like they're delayed. Next up is the Tremolo plugin, and the Tremolo plugin lives inside of the modulation folder, Tremolo. And what I'm going to do is just play this for you now so you can hear what it sounds like, and then I'll go into more explanations. So you can hear there are some volume curves, and it sounds like it's panning from left to right really quickly. So what the Tremolo does is allow for very rapid volume changes in our sound, so we can essentially get a cool sort of glitchy effect if we want, which is what I like to use it for. So I'm going to turn this smoothing slider all the way down, and what it does is it makes it so that the volume changes are very quick and sudden, and then turn this phase down here all the way to 0 so that we don't get that panning effect. Sometimes I want that, but usually I don't. I like it in the center. And then what we can do is play with this rate knob and make it so that that kind of glitchy, juddery volume change effect happens either really quickly or really slowly, or it can be beat dependent as well on the left side of this knob, or hertz dependent, how many times per second on the right side of this knob. So I'll just turn this up pretty fast and play it for you. So I really like to do this, especially if something is getting closer and closer to you or further and further away. It's kind of a nice sort of sci-fi sounding effect that I like to add. I also like to automate it so that maybe it turns off for the beginning, and for the tail end of it, it turns on, so you get a juddery sort of tail. So that's the Tremolo plugin, and I really like using it, especially for sci-fi sound. And the last thing I want to show you has to do with Reverb, one of my favorite plugin types. Now, this can be done with any reverb, but I'm just going to use Logic's Space Designer. And what I want to do and what I want to enforce in you is that you can automate every parameter on all of these plugins. And automating your reverb can be a really nice sound design tool to prevent things from sounding too overblown, or to just get reverb on the part of the sound that you specifically want. So if I bring up the automation window here, I can now go to my Space Designer and choose the reverb output section here. So now I can basically pencil in automation on this reverb output, which is essentially our wet knob if we had a dry wet knob, but this reverb plugin looks a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is actually make it so that this reverb gradually increases so that the start of this blaster sound isn't reverberated, but the tail end of it is. So we're not overblowing and making it sound like this blaster part of it is way too reverberated, but we're making it sound like the tail is in a bigger space. So what I like to do that is simply bring up the pencil tool and then just draw in a curve. And in Logic, again, I just press the A key to bring up automation. So this starts out very, very quiet, and then gradually the reverb will increase. So I'm going to tweak this a little bit. I'm going to make it start increasing after the initial large blast. So now it's muted for a chunk of the way, and then the reverb gradually increases. So let's take a listen to that. So we add just a little bit of an extra subtle tail to it, so we can put it into space without sounding like it's completely too reverberated. So for example, if I turn this all the way up, and let's just say I pencil in some reverb that looks something like that, where it's more static the whole way through, it can make it sound like that initial blast is just a bit too much. So automating your reverb output can be a very useful tool to keep things in check. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, thumbs up to the video and subscribe to the channel, and also sign up for my newsletter where I share all of my best tips for those of you who actually want to make a career, and a good one, working in the game industry. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.